Okay, season 2, episode 2, how to know if entrepreneurship is right for you. Bing, we're here.
Yes, it's 9:30, Wednesday. We are here, as always, Wednesday, 9:30.
Exactly, exactly. How are you
uh,
doing?
good. I'm really good. As we talked lately, I told you that I have loads of new energy since
Mm,
the beginning of the year. So that's actually really great. How about yourself?
I'm doing very good as well. I think like new year, new start, the momentum is still there. Very exciting stuff that I'm working on later this year. So I'm in very good spirit too. Very good. Good.
Okay.
Right,
So
today.
so
Oh,
before we start our topic today, tell me how long is it for you to be an entrepreneur? How long do you maybe consider yourself as an entrepreneur?
yeah, 'cause obviously we're going to talk about how do we know if entrepreneurship is right for us, right? But
Yeah.
interestingly, I still don't see myself as an entrepreneur for some reason. I think maybe it's because I feel like being an entrepreneur, you have to be full time, you have to be focusing on doing that one thing only. I see myself as like a side hustler,
Okay.
but entrepreneur, it doesn't quite fit in with my definition. Yeah, that's what I see myself as. That's why when they say entrepreneurship, I don't quite relate that yet. Although
Mm.
spiritually and mentally, maybe it's the same grind and drive that is needed, but I don't really relate myself to the word entrepreneur when I say that. So yeah, that was interesting.
Okay. So what are you doing on this podcast today with me?
I know. Maybe I should just leave and then I go. But no, exactly. This is why we think it's good to talk about whether it's definition of entrepreneurship or when people say, "Oh, how do I know if entrepreneurship is right for me? I want to start like a business." Obviously, that is just my definition. Everyone's definition is different. But maybe that's a good place to start. So, Dan, like I see you as an entrepreneur. You see yourself as an entrepreneur. What is your definition of an entrepreneur?
uh, you know, that's a good question because you would think that entrepreneur is someone who is just possessing a business, right?
Mm,
But probably that's more like dictionary definition. My own definition would be like there are people who are business owners and there are people who are entrepreneurs. I believe that entrepreneurs are more involved in business. They are striving to grow business. They are striving to look for innovative ways to start and to run business. And business owners, they just maybe copied some scheme, and they just been operating their business just as it is for many years. I don't say that I don't respect business owners. I respect business owners, but I feel like there is less entrepreneurship in their work than in, let's say, my meaning, my view of entrepreneurship.
yeah, your definition.
Because, like, I would say you are an entrepreneur because you are looking for, let's say, unconventional ways to earn some extra money. That's what
Mm,
I would call entrepreneurship. So
mm.
I guess you know in that's actually interesting because when you think of someone as an entrepreneur, we mean a person who owns a business or side hustle or whatever, right? But when we use adjective entrepreneurial, we actually use this adjective for some other things as well. For
Mm,
example, my girlfriend, who is she doesn't have any kind of business. Uh, okay, she has some small business, but she's more like freelancing or something like that. But
mm,
she's doing so many things besides her 9 to 5, and
mm,
her 9 to 5 is not actually 9 to 5. I
mm.
consider her entrepreneurial, even though I don't view her as an entrepreneur, which is strange. But I
Eh,
think there are more caveats to look into when it comes to the definition.
And that is exactly my point, which is you just say see myself as an entrepreneur, but I don't. Because like I said, I think entrepreneur, when I think about it, is someone like who has their own business, they operate it like fully, completely on that one business, they don't do anything else. But I see myself as entrepreneurial, adjectively. The spirit, the approach, the way I think about things is completely entrepreneurial. It's just that not having an actual appearance or representative of business or whatever that brings you the money and the income makes me think that, oh, maybe I'm not an entrepreneur. So it's interesting that we define it very differently when it comes to the term entrepreneur and entrepreneurial. And we're even going to talk about entrepreneurship, right? In this context. So using your definition, and maybe I will give a different perspective, which is how do you know? Obviously, we talked about this in season one, but you literally just um, decided to completely dive into this. And what makes you think entrepreneurship is right for you, or how do you know it is right for you?
You know what? This is actually one of the rare occasions when I really prepared myself for this episode. So I
Mm,
have some notes with me. Uh, I would say that you have to experience it in
mm,
some way. Either you experience something opposite to what entrepreneurship is, or you experience entrepreneurship in, let's say, beta version. So how can you experience it? Of course, you can start your own business. That's the best way to experience whether to experience entrepreneurship and see whether it's something right for you. Uh, you can also go to regular job and see what you don't like. So I said on many occasions that when I was working for Toyota, I loved my job, but at the same time I disliked so many things about the job that I knew that I want to be an entrepreneur, right? um, Another thing is that if you are a student, or even in a group of friends, there are some projects, there are things happening, and if you I think that if you feel comfortable, or you think that this is something you can uh, become comfortable eventually, things like being in charge of something, managing people, leading people. If you feel like this is something that you feel comfortable in, or eventually you might get comfortable to it with it, then I feel like entrepreneurship is right for you. But that's just the first step in my sense.
mm,
There's another step, and actually I prepared 5 questions.
mm,
Probably there are more questions that you should ask yourself if you want to be before you start being an entrepreneur, uh, because I answered these questions to myself after I became an entrepreneur. But
mm,
but uh, uh, but I'm giving you these 5 questions because if you haven't started yet, maybe it's good for you to answer those questions. And if there is some, let's say, conflict within your answers, and what should entrepreneurship be about, and what you are not willing to do, then maybe don't waste your time on becoming an entrepreneur, right?
mm, mm,
Be live it for in 5 years. Maybe you will mature to it. So these 5 questions are, uh, first of all, am I willing to work more? Because people think that, oh, entrepreneurship, owning a business is like, I'm not binded by any time frames. That's true, but actually it works the other way around. It doesn't mean that you can only work 4 hours a day. Maybe eventually one day you will be able to work only 4 hours a day, but at the beginning you will have to work like 10 at least.
mm,
uh, Second, am I willing to learn? Am I willing to grow? Am I willing to grow my knowledge? Am I willing to grow my mindset? Am I willing to step out of my comfort zone? Like that's what I uh, include in the word learn, because learn is not only about knowledge, but it's also about experiences.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Third one, it's very crucial. Am I ready to fail? Am I
Mm.
ready to fail? Because failing is part of being an entrepreneur. I know that I don't know, we find it fabulous and amazing when we see those entrepreneurs with fancy cars on Instagram, TikTok, and etc. But actually, these people, they don't uh, they they s- they became famous on Instagram and TikTok when eventually they made it. But most of the time, or in like 99% of cases, we don't see the hard work before. We don't see the the bottom that they had to touch at some point
Mm.
to get to the top. Because there might be there might be uh, situations, not a single situation, but several situations when you will reach the bottom before you get to the top.
Mm.
Fourth question, am I ready to give up some things? Your life will never be the same after you start being an entrepreneur. If you want to take it seriously, you will have to give up some things. Your day is only 24 hours, and you cannot accommodate everything that you are doing right now.
Mm.
Like back in the days, I used to play video games on my Xbox. I used to watch quite a lot of TV series on Netflix. Now I can't. I don't have time for that. And fifth question, am I ready to go through hardship? Because it's not only about failing, it's also about hardship. It's about uh, periods of time when you are like, trying to achieve something, but it doesn't work out.
Mm.
And it will happen to you. Like you will be trying your best, but it doesn't work out, and you
Mm.
have to keep on trying. You have to go through this hardship to eventually, you know eventually it will work out. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm in this situation. I'm going through hardship and eventually I will make it
Mm.
work out.
Mm. Good. 5 questions that you have. I have actually got a little framework as well, which is kind of similar to what you just said, but mine is I've got two basically. So my
Okay.
first is, how do you know if entrepreneurship is right for you? I think the first thing is, if you feel like you are an entrepreneurial person where you want to explore things, innovate things, then entrepreneurship may be right for you. That's the answer that everyone was here. But what I want to encourage people who are listening, who are watching, to think about, if you have this question inside your head, is you actually have to find clarity by trying, not by thinking or pondering. I think this is what you just mentioned, right? It's like, you won't be able to think your way out of this. I won't be able to find an answer just by thinking. You have to go out and try, go out and suck some shit, go out and fail, go out and try and go, oh shit, this doesn't work. You have to try it so that you can taste what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I think for me, that's the only way that you find whether or not entrepreneurship is right for you. And I read an article today that talks about how people always say you need to find your purpose, and that thing is wrong. You don't find your purpose, same thing like you don't find whether or not entrepreneurship fits you. Because if you go find something, it's like something is outside, there's an event that has to happen. And then when that event happens, you found it, that's your answer, and that's it. But no, entrepreneurship or passion or whatever is a process of constantly finding, constantly seeking. And that's why it's more of a process rather than an avenue or an event that will happen. So you actually find it by trying, 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 not by thinking, thinking, thinking. So that's the first thing I would say. The
Can
second
I
thing,
add something to it?
go for it.
I would say jump on this, let's say, cart as soon as you can, you know.
Ah,
So imagine that you are bystander to a train, right? And this train is going really fast,
mm,
and jump on this train as soon as possible. Because like for me it was like I was thinking about like the first idea about starting my own business appeared at the end of my high school time,
mm,
but actually I haven't done anything about this idea. And actually, with the knowledge and experience that I have now, I know that if I tried with this idea, it could have been a success or at least a lesson to me.
mm-hmm.
And it took me 4 more years to eventually start some business. Four
I
more years because I was 23 when I started the business that I'm running right now.
I completely agree. You just reminded me of another story, which is when I first had this idea of like, oh, think about, coaching or whatever that as an industry, that idea first happened about 3 years ago. Never really thought it was for me. Always procrastinated that thought and that idea. Because I was like, oh, how do I know this is right for me? Blah, 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 blah. But I think the key lesson in there is yes, you can jump in, but what we have shown here actually is that that thing is inside us, but we never stop trying to find an answer to that thing. Even if it has taken us, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, fair enough. But I think we didn't stop, which is the key thing as well. That's why for me, I think if you keep trying, eventually you'll find a way out. Like now you're doing this, and I am also doing something different. We still got there in the end, but you're absolutely right. If you think about it, you had that thought, just jump in and don't wait because we waited and we wish now that we could start earlier. So definitely. Um, Last thing I want to share is be comfortable to acknowledge that entrepreneurship may not be right for you. I think that is so that for me, that is a relief when you realize that, oh, I don't have to say, try this thing out, it doesn't work. And then you just go, okay, you know what, maybe this is not the right thing for me. Because I think entrepreneurship has become such like a hype concept and idea, and everyone, especially our age, talks about you must go start a business, you only live once, this and that. And when you see all your friends doing it, you start to think to yourself, oh, maybe I should do it. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Oh, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. You're comparing yourself against them. But what I want to say is that everyone has got very different talent, everyone's got different strength, and everyone's got different ways of demonstrating what they are really excel or what they are good at. You have to go find a way that works for you. For us, maybe it's starting a business. For some people, maybe you are much better at working at a big company because there's structure to support you, etc. I don't think there is one that is better than the other. I think for me personally, that's just the way it is.
You reminded me about the conversation that I had with my girlfriend lately,
Oh,
uh, about me going to job,
mm,
finding a full-time job, because of course, as I said, I'm going through a hardship. I had really bad time lately, and I started considering different things, and I said, okay, like if things really go south, and then I will have to find a job. And she said that I would be terrible working for someone. She knows me so well that she told me that I would be terrible working for someone.
exactly.
And actually, it reminded me of my two biggest job experiences that I had. And actually, in both of these cases, I was excelling in the beginning, or even most of the time, but close it till the end. Um, I got worse because I'm this type of person that gets really. that gets bored really quickly of repetitive tasks. And
Hmm.
actually, corporate job working for someone consists mainly of repetitive tasks, and that's why
Not for you.
uh, I would be bad employee.
Exactly. And I think that's it, it's Gary Vaynerchuk keeps talking about this. It's like it's just self-awareness. Like if you know that you are good at these things, then go for it. And I just think it's not right to bang on this idea. But if people are actually their life, if you're not really happy whilst you're in the process of pursuing this thing called entrepreneurship, I mean, sod it. Don't do it. Your life's happiness is much better. Like I'm quite happy doing a job and a side hustle at the same time. You are happy doing this. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be difficult. But I think having that happiness and joy is going to be the thing that drives you forward. That's where the passion really is.
Exactly.
Wonderful,
All right.
wonderful.
So that's it for today.
That's it for
Uh,
today.
21 minutes. Thank you to everyone who was watching tonight. And see you next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we are having a guest for you to join us. We are not 100% sure who it will be, but we
We'll,
will announce
we will
it
get someone.
closer to next Wednesday. All right. Have a
All
good
right.
night, everyone, and see you next week.
See you. Goodbye.